Hello, welcome to my video blog where we sit at the intersection of faith, LGBT, and Christian communities. Today I want to talk to you about the Beatitudes and also Christian celebrities within the LGBT community. One thing that we've seen is that gay people will embrace certain Christians in certain situations. We definitely saw this with Tammy Faye Baker, and I think the reason is they could identify with her a lot. And I think the reason is the Beatitudes. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, those who are merciful, those who are pure in heart, those who are peacemakers, and those who are persecuted because of their own righteousness. And blessed are you when people insult you. So one thing that happened is poor in heart. Now let's start with poor in spirit. So poor in spirit is those who are downcast and those who are lonely. It's when you have a poverty of self that cannot be filled. And so poor in spirit kind of covered those two. So who's lonely? Those who are forced to not have relationships. Who is downcast? Those who are cast out by their families. Who are told from a young age that there is something wrong with them. Who are told that they are sinners. To such a degree that they doubt their own perspective. It isn't necessarily conviction, it's emotional abuse. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. So what do people mourn? They mourn the loss of life. They also mourn the loss of relationships, because when certain relationships go away, close ones, they are felt like death. And it's not necessarily the Christians who are losing these relationships, it's often the LGBT. And with Tammy Lee Baker, she had a lot of people kind of abandon their family. And it's kind of one of those things that the first will be last and the last will be first. And obviously, she had to mourn what was lost of the Praise the Lord or BTL empire. Next, blessed are the meek. She could have been a lot more bombastic about what she experienced. And a lot of gay people could be too. And some are, and that's okay. But I guess the thing with meek is we kind of miss what it actually means. It means having your impulses in check. And I think being meek is kind of having any anger or any resentment in check. And Moses was described as being meek. He was wronged by Aaron and Miriam when he took a foreign wife and they grumbled about it. And he let the Lord avenge them. And I think a lot of LGBT who are Christians are kind of feeling the same way, that it's God's place to restore or forgive any wrong that they may have experienced. And that is what I believe, is that what's going to happen is God is also is not just the God of Christians, He's the God of non-Christians, He's the God of the LGBT, He's the God of the whole world and all people. And if we have a group that's constantly crying out to Him in prayer, I've never seen anywhere in the Bible where God's rejected anyone who cried out to Him over an injustice. And if they're constantly crying out to Him, He will hear them. We saw this with the Ninevites, and Jonah was sent to them. And even so, we see that God labors with everyone, and He has His hand on everyone. So if we kind of take this view that the LGBT are heathens, well, I think we miss out on a whole lot of a lot of truth. We miss out on just their perspective on life, and we also miss out on what they can contribute, which I believe is a lot. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. Part of this hunger and thirsting for righteousness is asking for justice, and the Lord will fulfill that. Blessed are those who are merciful. They will be shown mercy. And as I said, when it comes to mercy, we saw this with, we saw actually the lack of it. There was an opportunity for the Christian community to win over the LGBT if they had responded to the AIDS epidemic with kind-heartedness, with embrace, with a desire to help fund, instead of, oh, this is God's judgment against you, when it's like AIDS didn't exist when Romans 1 was written. I'm like, sorry, it was still in a monkey. But instead we got kooky judgment, and we get that sometimes from the crazy fundamentalist evangelicals that will remain nameless. I don't feel like saying which ones I think are crazy. A lot of them. But anyway, blessed are the pure in heart. So these are the people who aren't double-minded. They will see God. And I think the LGBT have an opportunity here because they are trying to live out an authentic self. And in order to do that, yeah, your heart needs to be in the right place. You need to be pure of heart. And hopefully that's in a Godward direction. But if not, there is benefit to living wholeheartedly and living with courage. Next, blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called sons of God. As an LGBT Christian, I sometimes see the bombs that are lobbed across the lines. And it's sometimes hard for me. I have to dive for cover. But like Justin Lee, when he talked in his book Torn, kind of rescuing the LGBT in Christianity debate, he kind of took a step back and said, and kind of talked about this, blessed are the peacemakers. And I think we kind of forget that. We're too busy wanting to either to fight for rights, which people should, or fight for God, which God never asked. Or he only asked that we were his ambassadors, and making your appeal through such. So Christians should be making peace in such a way that they need to look out for their own lives and not meddle in the affairs of others. In fact, Paul says you should strive to live a quiet life, minding to your own affairs. So this is something that I feel the conservative church has left when they got into politics and is still not recovered. Finally, blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. The LGBT can relate to this a little bit because they are often accused falsely of all kinds of evil. They are often insulted, and they're often persecuted for something they have no choice in. But the difference with a Christian is it's specifically for their faith choice, whereas for the LGBT, it's for their non-choice in sexual orientation. Finally, you are the salt of the earth, but if the salt loses its savor, how can it be made salty again? It is good for nothing except be thrown out and trampled by men. A lot of times within the LGBT debate, if you are a Christian and you embrace LGBT people, you have lost your salt. That is how they view it. But for me, I'm coming to see that the ones who shun everyone have lost their salt. And everyone thinks they're the good guy. And honestly, there probably isn't a good guy. There's just a lot of misunderstanding. But you have to judge the magnitude of a community who has a very high rate of suicide and persecution versus a community that still enjoys favor in the public. So, as such, where is their love? If that's the mark of a Christian, and that's how they're the salt to the world, that they stand up for the person who will not for or cannot for themselves, where is that? And I believe like there was an opportunity with the AIDS epidemic to embrace the LGBT, to find help, to find aid, and they kind of shirked that responsibility because it didn't affect them. And for me, I'm coming more and more to see them or that as there is no salt here. There is people seeking their own interests and nothing more. They have hidden their light from the world. They have put it in a basket of the nuclear family, and they have not really let their light shine before men. There's very little outreach to the gay community because the church doesn't know how to handle the toxicity that has been spawned. And as such, there is no outreach to the gay community unless it's a gay church, unless it's a church that's already affirming. So, if you're not able to interact with a large portion of the world, then there's maybe something wrong with your Christianity, and maybe your light is actually darkness. And I'll leave you with that.